Hello everyone, welcome to my craft room. Today we're going to make a box, and it's a lovely box that has two lids and it leaves this lovely open design at the side. And this box actually is big enough to take a Twirl chocolate bar. Yummy! So let me get on and show you what you will need. You'll need a piece of card, and in this case I've used Very Vanilla, and this measures 3.5 inches by 9 inches, and it's scored on all four sides at 3/4 of an inch, and then on the long side it's also scored at 1.5 inches, so you have two score lines at each of these ends and one at this end. And then you need another piece to make your lid, and in this case I've used Daffodil Delight, and this piece of card measures 6 5/8 by 7 5/8. Now on the 7 5/8 side, so that's across here, you need to measure at 3/4 from both ends. So do one side and then turn and do the other. Then on the shorter side you need to score it at 1.5 and 2.25, and again turn it and do 1.25 and 2.25. So that's 1.5 and 2.25 from both ends, and that leaves a little gap in the middle here. So as I've got this piece handy, let's work on that first, and you are going to need a pair of scissors. Excuse me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to need to make this little piece here, and this is going to wrap over. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is with these two pieces towards you, you need to measure, you'd cut up here to the first horizontal and cut up this one to the first horizontal. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you are going, and I've got a piece of paper just to make sure I do this right, you're then going to cut up this score line here to this first horizontal. So what I'm going to do is, because it would be easier to get this flap out of the way, I'm going to fold and burnish this. Let me bring in a bone folder. So I've folded and burnished that bit where I've cut. Let me do this side as well. So again, I'm going to cut up there, and I'm cutting up there, so on the opposite side to the ones you did here. Now I'm going to fold that over and burnish it. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to cut up to make two flaps here, and because I folded this piece back, it's much easier to do it, and you need to cut off the score line. So I'm just cutting to the horizontal, okay, and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do that on all four sides. You can see how I'm manipulating the card just to go up to the first horizontal on each side. So this now makes a flap. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a diagonal line from here. Now if you're not confident with a pair of scissors, you could obviously do it with a trimmer, but I find it just as easy to bring in a nice pair of long snips and then cut. Now we're going to cut from this horizontal line. Let me fold and burnish it, and then you'll be able to see it a bit better. So fold that one, making sure that they're nice and straight, like so. And again, so it now looks like this. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut on the diagonal. Now this is the bit where I need to just check to make sure I'm doing this right. So I've got my cuts there. So I'm going to go from this outside corner here to this piece here. Now again, I'm going to fold and burnish. In fact, let's fold and burnish all of the score lines. Use your bone folder to make sure you've got nice, crisp, scored lines, because that will make your box in the end look so much better. Hello, I'm sorry about that. As you heard, the phone rang, and that was somebody who I haven't spoken to for many, many years. So I've just had a lovely long chat, catch up on all his news. Now, right, what we're going to do is this is the cover for our box. So we've done all the folding and burnishing. Oh no, I got interrupted. So I've just got this one last one to do. So all those lines are now folded and burnished. Okay. Oh no, there's one there, still haven't done it. Let's do that. Okay. Right, so now your piece of card looks like that. We've got these two funny little flaps here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are now going to cut from this corner here. If I hold it up a bit, we're going to cut from this score line here to this score line here. So with my scissors, I'm just placing it on the corner and going along there like so. So can you see you've got this flap and then that corner piece. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do it exactly the same. And if you line up your scissors, if you open your scissors and you line it up with the score line, and then you put the open bit of your scissors to where you want it to go, you can just do it all in one nice straight cut. There we go. Let's get rid of those pieces. So now you can see we are getting our box, and can you see it's made those nice little edges there. So now what we're going to do is this needs to fold under, and can you see how this piece here needs to fold under and be glued to the underside of this here like that. So I'm going to do this with some liquid glue. So I'm going to put some, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some little wedges off of these flaps that we've made. This will just make it easier and make sure that your box, let's turn this, I'm just cutting, no, I'll just cut it this way. I'm just going to cut that off there. So you can see I've cut off the wedges from either side here. Let's tuck that in and see if I can do this a bit better. So basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting off the score lines, which is just the principle that you do whenever you make a box. You need to make sure that you haven't got any excess card. Okay, so as you see, they're not very big pieces, just little wedgy bits. Right, let's get this out of the way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on those two pieces, and then they're going to sit on there like so. All right. Making sure that this edge of the card just lines up with the edge of that folded piece there. And because it's liquid glue, I'm just keeping my fingers in place there, just to press it for a few minutes, just to make sure that it's fully caught. There we go. Now we need to do this side. So again, fold back these little flaps and put your glue onto this side of the flaps. Let's get those out of the way. And then fold that in like so. Press it down. There we go, and then this piece is just going to be folded over and glued down, like so. I shall use my bone folder just to press this down. Some glue to that. And there we have our lid. Lovely. So now we've got a piece, I've cut a piece of designer series paper, and this comes from the Forever Lovely pack of designer series paper from the new annual catalogue. Look at those lovely sunflowers. Oh, what's on the other side? Let's just check. Oh, that's a nice piece too. Oh, I might use that side. That looks rather pretty, doesn't it? So let's use that. And then it will fit either of your flaps. I've just chosen one of them. Pop that on there. It just leaves a little gap all the way around. Okay. So now we need to make the sleeve to make the piece for where our chocolate's going to sit. Let me put my lid on my glue for a minute. So now what we need to do is we need to cut up here. So we're going to cut up see the score lines. So we're going to cut up the inside of this score line here to make a flap. And this time we're going to the second horizontal line, and then we're going to cut off this square here. So you've got a flap at the corner here. So let's do that again. Cut that off. And then at the opposite end, we're cutting a straight line up to the second horizontal, and then we're cutting off the corner square. Okay. Right. Now, just as you do whenever you're making a box, you need to get rid of some of the bulk of the card. So I'm just cutting little wedges, just like we did before with the other piece. I'm cutting a little wedge there and a little wedge there. And I find it easier to turn my card over and do it this way. So you've got a little wedge there, and then we do this again. And then this piece here is going to fold over and just reinforce the edge of our box. So I'm going to cut off little wedges here as well. So when you've finished, your piece of card will look like this. So you've got two flaps here, and then you've got this two bigger flaps at these ends. So let's fold and burnish all of our score lines. And I would suggest that you use a bone folder. Just using your fingers is not really enough when you're doing a box and you're using card. It needs to be pushed down. Those fibres need to be told where you want them to go, and that's what happens when you use your bone folder. It just makes them sit nicely. Now our bone folders are really nice and sturdy. Some are a bit bendy, but ours are nice and sturdy. So just roll along. That's it. Fold. That's it. So now there we go. So there we go. Now we're ready to put our box together. Now these flaps are going to go onto the inside of this flap here. Okay. So what I tend to do is fold them in and put some glue on. Now you can use tear and tape or some other sort of tape if you prefer. I just like liquid glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that there, put my finger over it. Oops, I put a little bit too much glue on there. I've got a wet wipe somewhere. I'm going to get sticky all over my fingers. Let me get a wet wipe. There we go. And again, I'm lining up that cut edge with the folded edge of that box. Just get rid of that a bit. Okay. Whoops. Press it down. And of course I've got a sticky finger now. There we go. That's it. Now let's do the other end, and I'll try not to put too much glue on this time. So I'm going to put glue on the folded edge, just on those two flaps. Then I'm going to bring those in there, hold that one in place, and that one as well. There we go, and there we have our box almost ready. Now this piece here, you're going to put some glue on it, and then you're going to fold it over and just push it down with your bone folder. Can you see? So it reinforces that edge of the box. And if you push it down with your bone folder, it makes sure that it goes over the flaps nicely. Fold it over. Using a bone folder is easier than trying to get your fingers in there. I've got particularly fat fingers. If you've got thin fingers, you might be able to get your fingers in, but there we go. So there's our box for our chocolates. Now let's bring in our cover again, and this is just literally going to sit on here, and we need to glue it in place. So let's put some glue. I find it easier to put the glue onto this piece, so I'm just going to waft some glue on here, making sure you don't go over the score lines, and then this will sit on here, and then we can line that up either side like so. A bit difficult to show you, but there we go. So it sits in the middle there, look. Right. Just press that down. I'm going to bring in my score, and just give that burnish just to make sure it's stuck. And then this piece will go over here. Push that down inside. And there we go, there we've got our box, and there's you can see the lovely Very Vanilla underneath. Right, so now what I did was I used a bit of ribbon, and this is the lovely gingham ribbon, and this is in Daffodil Delight, or is it Bumblebee, I can't remember. And this will wrap round and keep your box closed. But before we do that, we need to do a little bit of stamping. So let me just bring in my grid paper, because I made a little tag, okay, and I'm just going to get the stamp that I used to stamp that with. So this is a piece of Very Vanilla card, and this measures let me see, where's the score? What did I do this for? 1 inch by 3 inches. And then what I've done is I've used the banner punch to cut a little fishtail. Now if you're good at cutting straight lines, which sometimes I'm not, you can do this by hand. So you just cut up the centre and then cut from the corners to your point. But I use the banner punch. Let me show you what that looks like if you've not seen it before. Okay, this is the banner punch, and as you can see, you can put 1 inch, 1.5 and 2 inches. Really useful for cutting fishtails. And I've used early espresso ink to stamp my sentiment, and my sentiment is from the lovely Blossoms in Bloom set, and this is a new set that's in the annual catalogue. So let me just get thinking of you. It's a photopolymer stamp, and I need a block. There we go. I'll bring in my piece, and oh, at the other end I've punched with the decorative topper punch. Here we go. Oh, it's called the Delightful Tag Topper Punch. And again, this one you can do 1 inch, 1.5 and 2 inches. And that's how I got that lovely shape at the top. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stamp this. And I'm not really worried if it's straight or otherwise. I'm just going to stamp this straight onto here. There we go, lovely. Get that out of the way. So let's bring in our box and let's just check and make sure that the chocolate bar fits okay. I'm sure it will. Oh, I love twirls. I wish they did them in dark chocolate. Wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah, sits perfectly. So then I'm going to wrap my ribbon around there, and this ribbon is, yes, 16 inches of ribbon is what I've used. I'm going to wrap that around there, and then I'm going to feed my tag onto here. Oh, I've got it upside down. Let me try again. Let's put it on this one, I think. That's better. Shorten that bow a bit. There we go. So there's our box. So there we go. We've got two different boxes now. Okay, there's that one and there's that one, and this will just slide on, or at least it should. Oh, can I get it back on again? Yeah, there we go. All fingers and thumbs, because you're watching me. I need to bring this round. Oh no. There we go. So there we go, we've got 2 boxes. So now I just need another bar, a Twix bar, a twirly bar to put in there. And I've got another gift to give to somebody. So thank you very much for watching. I will be doing a blog post, and I'll write down on my blog post all the measurements and everything that I've used. So in case you would like to make this box, you can. Thank you. Bye.